You just do it, turn out okay. Hey everyone, we're here. I'm here back again with Eric and I don't remember your name.
Eric's girlfriend.
Eric's girlfriend.
Well, if you want to be more specific, her name is Natasha.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, and I'm testing out this Skype on OBS today. It's guys.
Ready to rock and roll.
Rock and rumble.
Ready to rock and roll with this live stream.
Yeah, let's see if this so I can hear you both on the YouTube real fast.
Woohoo!
Texting my mom.
Aw, that's cute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
love it.
Yes. Sorry, Eric's girlfriend, but no book reading today. She,
All right. So
if you remember her last time, she was a book reader for us.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
I'm good. What can I say? No.
Right.
Um,
All right. So nice to have your opinion. Cause you're still a Christian, right? Dedicated, fully.
Yeah.
How do you feel about teachers in public schools teaching Christian doctrine and stuff?
Would you want to go first?
all right. So, on a personal level, I'm very much for teaching Christian doctrine, especially because for the most part, it's actually really just helpful for society in general. When you're teaching just the basics of, love your neighbor, do to others what you would have done to yourself, that type of thing. It gets a little trickier when you start to get into some of the more detailed nitty-gritty type aspects of the Christian religion, particularly when you have members of your classroom who don't follow it, don't come from families who follow it, and when you're employed by a state that isn't going to be endorsing that type of teaching. So I may be a little bit closer to fringe opinion when it comes to this particular conversation we're about to have. Because for the most part, I think that it's a good thing, because society in general benefits from having people taught to be kind and to honor people and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that I would agree. I don't think you should just not teach people as to what Christianity is. And there will be cases as to when that there will be classmates like who aren't Christians.
Yeah.
I feel like that that you could at least
Yeah.
I mean, of course religion is a choice.
Yeah.
And and you don't want to force it down other people's throats.
Well, I mean, I'm fine if it's a class. I mean, if it's personally a class that you sign up for, it's about religion and Christianity, but.
And
It's really, you have to be careful with kids,
yes.
because kids are so easy to just feed information and they're just going to believe it.
Exactly.
And you don't want to do that with something like religion. You need to let that person, as they grow and mature, make the choice as an
Yes.
individual of what they're going to be doing with their life.
So about that, I have a very interesting story. So back when Passion of the Christ first came out, I was in the 4th grade. There was a lot of controversy about that movie for multiple reasons, like how violent it was, and there was controversy about the director himself, Mel Gibson. There was controversy if the movie was anti-Semitic and whatnot. My 4th grade teacher, Mr. Hughes, he was a devout Catholic, and then I remember right when it first came out, so it made the front page about all the controversy about it. There was a picture of Jesus from the movie, where it was a violent picture. He had all the wounds on him. He was all bloody. He was reading that to the whole class, and he was wanting us to debate about that. I feel like that was not appropriate for 4th graders. Now, high school, Yeah, high school, sure. But fourth grade, I mean, people are way too young to be debating stuff like that. So yeah, and of course, and I mean, the school can't do anything about it now. It's because that happened back in 2004. So, but yeah, I feel like that's a good example of how that like that kids at that age, they don't really think like that deeply about things, and I don't really feel like that they care too much.
I don't know if they developmentally can.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Right. Yeah. It's because of how young that they were.
Yeah, the brain is still small and nugget-like, and it cannot absorb all of the information.
Exactly. And so I have mentioned this on my second channel. I used to be a Jehovah's Witness. Here was one of the things that was a red flag to me. At one of their meetings, they were saying that, we have. Now, I know I'm paraphrasing, but they made it very, very clear. You would have to be a complete imbecile to not get that they're saying that we have to force this on to other people. And the first thing that came to my mind was like, yeah, you can't do that. It's because that people are not always going to believe the same things you do, and people need to learn that that it's okay. It's just the problem is we are taught to avoid controversial topics like religion, politics, because we do not know how to be amicable about it. And I just feel like that if we will learn to be more civil about it. Yeah, you tried. I feel like that if they did, people could, people wouldn't be so extreme about it. Like, a really good example, when I uploaded my debate with Ken Hovind on my primary YouTube channel,
yeah,
I had a lot of salty young earth creationists in the comments accusing me of being a fake Christian. But when they say that is the no true Scotsman fallacy. And so there was one young earth creationist. I reported him for it. He said that he wanted to come fly down to where I am and beat the crap out of me, all because I'm not a young earth creationist.
Very Christian response.
Exactly. over that I'm a theistic evolutionist. Like, really? Yeah, that's not a very Christian thing to do whatsoever.
I know and this thing about this thing is, well, I'll back up a little bit. All right, so you guys don't know about this. Well, I'm trying to get this thing working today. Sorry about the no pictures today. I'm working on this new system again after 2 years of not doing it. But there's a YouTuber called TellTale.
Yeah.
And apparently his daughter's health teacher was publicly talking about the Bible and stuff, about sex in their class, and stuff, and how if you do this, you're going to hell and stuff.
Oh, I think he's gonna try to show the.
Well,
were you trying to do a screen share?
Not yet. I'm trying to.
Okay.
Still trying to figure this out.
Okay.
Everything out right. But anyways, she recorded her teacher saying that, and he brought it to the attention of the school board or the ACLU or something like that. I forget what to try to teach her to stop. But the backlash of the whole community that he grew up in, apparently, he grew up in this community, was like so bad. Apparently, everyone's in the comments that they was saying the teacher was the victim, and apparently they, from what I've heard, the adults were protesting at the bus stop of the 12-year-old girl, and assault and like not really assaulting her, but verbally assaulting her. Threatening to burn down their house, and
Burn down their house?
and and they even called. She had to change her number because people were calling her and threatening her, I guess.
Yeah, see, when
That's
you have that in a little
extreme.
girl and all that kind of stuff, that's like restraining order type.
Yeah, that's going
business.
way too far.
Yeah, you can't get away with that. And people do, and that's frustrating. Very frustrating. Ugh.
Let's see.
So
There's even audio of the thing. If I get this thing to work, I don't know.
Yeah. So to inform you, TellTale, I did research on him. He used to be a Jehovah's Witness, but then he got disfellowshipped. I'm not really remember what he did exactly.
I mean, it didn't have to be anything big, but.
But yes, yeah, which it's sad but true. And so I watched his deconversion story, and yeah, and he was treated. I mean, this will go into the bullying that we're going to talk about later on. But yeah, I completely understand why that he is no longer a theist at all. Like, he has a lot of resentment now towards religion. And even though that I am not an atheist, I completely understand. It's because since that I used to be a Jehovah's Witness, but then when I did research on them, the fact that they've covered up child sex abuse, that knowing the fact that my father used to arrest pedophiles, that got my blood boiling. And
As it should, I would say.
As it should, yes. And so the fact that they claim to be the true version of Christianity, but all branches will say that. So and then I thought
that's a whole other box of worms.
It is.
When it comes to it.
So then I thought, hey, if that is true, then what they say is going to stand up to scrutiny. So what I did is that I grabbed my then copy of the Jehovah's Witness Bible, and I grabbed my NIV. My copy of the NIV is the copy that I got the day I got baptized. So I had both Bibles side by side, and I was comparing verses.
Yeah.
I saw that the verses in the Jehovah's Witness Bible were very, very different.
Yikes.
I wish I could remember what verses, but I have to remember that was back in 2015, so that was like 6 years ago. So unfortunately, I don't remember. But then when I did further research on those two verses, it became clear by the evidence Jehovah's Witness changed. Like they changed what the original verse meant. Not only meant, but what it said. So then that became clear to me that Jehovah's Witness is, I'm going to be blunt, it became clear to me that Jehovah's Witness is a false religion.
Oh, yeah.
Full offense.
Yeah, it's just that, I just don't want to come across as condescending. It's because of how that, is to like that there could be a JW watching, and I don't want to seem rude, but I also want to be honest. So it's kind of hard to find that medium.
Yeah.
Disrespect to people, disrespect to the religion, though.
Yeah. I mean, and then when I did research about how they've let babies die over their no blood transfusion policy, and the verses that they try to argue for that are verses taken out of context.
Yeah.
Like that, they argue like that blood is sacred, but what it's talking about is like the blood of Christ. It doesn't mean like our blood itself. Well,
and what they're looking at, isn't that going to be like the Old Testament verses in like Leviticus where it's like don't drink blood?
Yeah.
Is that what they're looking at? Because what is sacred, that's where the life of the creature is. Because I think that's what the scripture reference actually says. So yeah, like there's a reason that people were supposed to not drink blood at that time. They didn't have a way to disinfect it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And most of the time, drinking blood was part of ritual sacrifice, and it was like a nasty, like, there were heavy connotations, religious, spiritual connotations to drinking blood. That's what that's about.
Oh, yeah.
It frustrates me when people take this kind of stuff out of context.
It does. And one of the other reasons why that I left JW is the fact that, I mean, they're extremely strict about what movies you watch. Let's put it this way. They're so strict, you wouldn't even be able to watch Sonic the Hedgehog.
Because he punches people?
Yes. I mean, they're that strict. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Can't watch wrestling.
Yeah, and you can't watch
Can you watch
wrestling.
football?
That's because of the tackling? I doubt it.
Can you
But
play
yeah,
football?
and so they'll argue like all these verses about having violence, so it's taken out of context. You know, they have to remember when the Bible was written, movies didn't even exist.
And also, loving violence means loving to be violent.
And so, I know I'm paraphrasing some verse in the Bible. It says, "Stay away from dark things." But it's talking about staying away like from dark satanic religions.
Don't be a member of the occult, guys.
So yeah, and so
Drink your water, take your vitamins.
and so you know, one thing that I say, you know, Passion of the Christ is a pretty violent movie. That's way more violent than the original Halloween. And so, you know, so I feel like that if you can be a Christian and watch Passion of the Christ, it's really no different than to pop in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh.
Kind of, but there's something to be said about the message of the movie.
Right, yeah, I do get that, but what I'm saying is, well, not so message-wise, like, as far as, like, the violence goes.
Yeah, but the violence in that movie, you could argue, had a point, and there was a message to it. So I can see both arguments. As well as
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Passion of the Christ, when my church back when it came out, my church went to see it. You know, as a church, as a group. You know, I literally saw a few rows down some parents with a little kid there who couldn't be more than at least kindergarten age in the movie too. From preschool, like 4 or 5, I'm thinking that's what the kid looked like. What they brought her to see the Passion of the Christ.
But yeah, when Passion of the Fry,
of the fry cook.
sorry. So,
Is that? Do you think that's a little young to see it? Do you think that's a little young?
When the movie first came out, I wanted to see it, but my parents wouldn't let me watch it. I think that was a good call on their part because, you know, it's a pretty deep movie and how violent it is.
Too deep for you?
Yeah, they felt like it was too deep for me.
Yeah.
Then my parents finally allowed me to watch it when I was in 7th grade.
Oh yeah, that's not too bad.
But at that point, you know,
You're ready at 7th grade.
yeah, and so then I didn't watch it again until around April 2013. It was because of, you know, it's because it's about Jesus, and also in it was also, you know, Easter at that time. So at my church, it kind of was like a movie theater experience, kind of, sort of.
Did they have it like up on the big screen?
Yeah.
Nice.
And so I kind of felt like that was my second chance. It was because when it first came out, I wanted to see it on the big screen in the theaters, but my parents said I was too young. So I felt like that was my second chance.
Very nice.
And at that point in my life, I was a lot more mature.
Yeah.
And seeing it then, I felt like it had more of an effect on me.
Well, it's not a movie that was made for kids. It's a movie that was made
definitely
for
not.
adults.
Yeah, it's not a kids movie whatsoever. But yeah, I will say this, in my own opinion, out of all movies about Jesus, that's the best one, because it's because of how the characters do not speak the language that we speak. They actually speak in the language as to what Jesus would have spoken in. And also the fact that...
At least our best approximation of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if we know anymore what it actually sounded like.
And so, even the people behind the movie said it's not perfect, but they got as close as they could.
Well, we don't even know what Latin sounded like back then, and
Yeah.
like Latin is still kind of spoken today.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And so, man, I also like that they didn't sugarcoat it. It's because back when I was in Sunday school, when I was extremely young, all the stuff we watched about Jesus was very sugar-coated.
Very super, super extremely.
And so the story of Jesus was a pretty brutal one.
Yeah, and when you're a kid in Sunday school, they just kind of go like, okay, they killed Jesus, and then he came back. Yay!
Right, yeah. Man, even kind of was that way, like with Noah's Ark, you know?
Yeah.
Like on Sunday school, you always see, you know, the happy giraffe's heads coming out.
Instead of the dead ones that were floating in the water.
Exactly. But, yeah.
Oh yeah, I did a whole thing about Noah's Ark and the bottleneck with Erica and Jackson. So.
So yeah, come on. Because you were an older creationist, you're more so in Hugh Ross's route. So I could take it like that you never interpreted Noah's Ark as like a literal worldwide flood, more like.
Well, actually, I kind of did for a while, but I tried to back it up further back in time, like for me, cause the Noah's Ark had to happen because it was in the Bible, right? But then also, I mentioned, you know, in our first podcast with your debater, what's his name?
Oh, Cody,
that for a while I thought I couldn't, you know, picture, because I knew the Native Americans, Indians had crossed the land 10,000 years ago, but how could that have happened if the flood had happened 4,000 years ago? So I'm like, so obviously the flood had to happen before 10,000 years ago.
Yep.
Obviously, you know, because the flood had to happen in the Bible, right? So, you know, it had to happen before the Native Americans crossed the land bridge. Simple.
And from the research I've done, you know, we have to remember, like that, like we have to remember, like that, the culture when the Bible was written, they didn't use numbers the same way we did. They used, according to biblical scholars, from the consensus, they used base 60 system, while when we use a base 10 system. And so, yeah, and so a lot of things get taken out of context, and the genealogies is one of them.
Well, one thing you have to remember too is that Genesis was written by Moses about prehistory.
Yes.
You know, so like the first historical documents that we have were found like 5,000 some years ago, but the stories that are kind of like we've got Cliff's Notes versions of what actually happened that is what's told in Genesis. A lot of that happened prehistory. You know, I can't even say like until maybe you get to Abraham, because he was communicating, he was from Mesopotamia and then moved to Egypt later on in his life. That was definitely, you know, after history had started to kind of be written, you know, after we start to see cuneiform and the hieroglyph type forms of writing and storytelling. But that's that's halfway through the book.
Yeah.
Know? So it's people don't realize that the Bible is a historical document just as much as any other.
Yes.
And you have to take it into context with all of the other writings that mankind has created.
Right.
And, you know, even if you're going to say, I would say regardless of whether you want to say that what Moses wrote was from stories that had been passed down from generations or inspired by God himself, I don't think it matters, because we know factually a lot of what happened there was prehistory, and so it's going to be really hard to tell when exactly it happened or how long these periods were, because it just wasn't written down. And when you have word of mouth generational storytelling, things get screwed up. And
we also have to remember like that the Bible is actually like a collection like of genres, like that the book of Psalms is one of like the more poetic books.
Yeah.
And 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 yeah, and so yeah, so some of it is meant to be historical, but yeah, some of it is meant to be more poetic. Like there's this one verse that's clearly not to be literal at all. I don't remember what verse it is, but it says, "Yes, it really flows with milk and honey."
Yeah.
Yeah,
And bedellium or whatever that is.
But yeah, I forget what verse it is, but yeah, there are verses that clearly are meant to be literal, and even during like the flood account when it says that there are windows in the sky. So yeah.
So, quick fast, did you get the? Am I screen sharing something to you or not? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I am. I want to see it. I want to see if like it's just to play if you can hear it or not. This is the audio of the thing.
When you get 7th grade, we go a tad bit further.
Can you hear that?
Yep.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
And then when you get in 8th grade, you start studying how digital thinking and behavior, what it can do to you. Okay? And the one thing is, I'm hoping that you all are brought up by a good family or person, whoever's raising you, that they're teaching you right from wrong, and that it's not okay to be sexually active. If you look at the Bible, it says, sex isn't for love, it is for what? When is the time you should? After marriage. After marriage. I've got so many kids that were so against me in my first and second period, you would have a heart attack. It makes me sick how they believe. And I'm thinking, the upbringing that you guys are having from your parents, I'm not saying nothing bad about your parents, it's just different nowadays, and I hate it. They say, all you do is, you everything you're teaching about sexual transmitted disease stuff, you keep referring back to the Bible. And I said, I almost said because I'm right, but, you can't force somebody to believe in God. And that's, whether you do or not, that's your opinion, but I just can't get my head into there where people don't really think there's I don't know, I'm just kind of shocked. They'll know one day, won't they? That's what worries me. I don't want anybody to be lost. So I try to squeeze them in a little bit without getting in too much trouble. But there's so many kids that don't believe in God and they don't believe in values. And
Right. That's half of it so far.
Yeah, so she's saying that she wants to try to get away with it without getting in too much trouble. Well, she should have known that regardless, she was going to get in trouble for that. So pretty much, she's saying that she knew that it was wrong, but she was doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, if you know it's wrong, do not do it.
Yeah. And it's fine if you're going if you're at a church, did this stuff, or a private school, Christian private schools for this stuff too, don't they? And we're back on StreamYard again. So I still fighting on OBS's hang-ups. So yeah, that was the recording she recorded.
Sorry, I missed half of it.
Oh, it's all right. So yeah, so pretty much she was saying that, I want to do it without getting in too much trouble. And so pretty much she knew it was wrong, but she was doing it anyway.
And it's hard because I'm sure that she has like personal, like actual religious convictions about sharing that information.
So yeah, but with the public school, I get it that she has those convictions and whatnot, and that's fine, but just, you really gotta be careful with the public school because there is that separation of church and state.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, legally, that's just a can of worms.
And yet, there's a lot of Christians out there who really struggle when it comes to finding the balance between submitting to authority and doing what they believe is right by their understanding.
Yes, exactly. So
yeah, I also bring a lot of I say this on Facebook, but a lot of Christians say that we bring prayer back in school and stuff, and prayer is illegal in school. Like, no, it's not. You can pray in school. I prayed in school.
Right, yeah.
The teacher just can't lead prayer in school. It's only different.
Yes, and I mean, nobody is saying by the fact that you cannot pray at school. Nobody's saying by the fact that you can't bring your Bible to school and read it if you're on your.
I did that in study hall.
Yeah, but it's just the thing is, you are just not allowed like to push it on to everybody else, and even there also is the rule by the fact that the teacher is also like that the teachers or principal, they are not allowed to interfere with their students' beliefs. And then whenever like a flat earther or when some young earth creationists, I don't want to use the strawman fallacy. I'm not saying that all of them are like this, but I have met some who are like this when they say that, oh, the school just wants to crumble their religious beliefs. That's actually not true at all. There actually is like a biology teacher who is a biology teacher at one of the high schools where I live at. He actually is a devout Christian, and he's told me stories about how he's had conflicts with some of like his students' parents who are young earth creationists. And he told me that they've said some pretty harsh things to him, like that they would accuse him of being a fake Christian. And whenever that biology teacher would teach biology, he never would say a single thing about God, even though yes, he believes in God, but legally, he is not allowed, to push that onto his students.
But what he can do is, if a student approaches him after class with some questions, educate them on his view of things and how he understands the Bible.
Yeah. Yes. I brought this up to Eric while you were gone. I don't know if it got cut off or not, but it's the same thing. Like, do you understand that? It's like how would you feel if you had like a Muslim or a Jehovah's Witness or something or a Hindu teacher and they were teaching your kids about trying to force your kids about their religion in class? You wouldn't like that either, would you?
No. And the fact is, as a Christian, you believe that God gives every human the power of choice.
Yes.
As Christians, we ought to respect that.
Yes. Which I just like that. I mean, I'm not saying that I have a problem with people who are Catholics, but I have family members who are Catholics. Now, even though that I don't have to agree with it, but but I do feel like that as Christians, that we are all called to at least respect it. Mm-hmm. Just like how even now that I am no longer a young earth creationist, even though I disagree with it, but I mean, it certainly is not my place to tell them what they should and should not believe. Now, granted, will I defend my viewpoint?
Of course.
I will, yes, but
the Bible says always be prepared with the defense.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
But when it says that, it says, do it in a Christ-like manner.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't say to go into situations defensive and to expect that you're going to have to.
Exactly. It's just some of my encounters with some young earth creationist YouTubers. I don't want to mention their names, just so in that way I won't start any drama. Yeah. Some of them would say that, oh, I want you to be a young earth creationist so you won't lose your faith. And I'm like, okay, obviously I haven't lost my faith because I'm still a Christian. So
yeah, I don't think either, but there's certain, I was going to say, there's these certain young YEC people that are making memes and stuff. You know Erica, right?
Yeah, the Gutsick.
Yeah, the get back to the kitchen that women can't be scientists and all this stuff, and that she should be a cheerleader for this cause instead of an active voice.
But yeah, you may not know who Gutsick Gibbon is. She's a YouTuber. she is primarily known like for countering young Earth creationist claims.
Oh.
And now she said that she's uncertain now if she believes in God or not. So I would say that she's an agnostic. But so I have done a few live streams with her, and she is very nice. And she also is, I would say that she's pretty smart. She's very, very passionate about primates. And so, yeah. But yeah, and so, then there was like a Halloween live stream she did, and of course, the costume she went was like as like a baboon, and so for the teeth, she used vampire teeth.
Nice.
That was a good call, but it was actually kind of creepy,
Baboons
to see.
Are creepy. Are you kidding
So
me?
yeah, but
Yeah. But anyways, like someone said that she get out, she stop being a scientist and get back to the kitchen, and be a cheerleader instead of a voice in the thing. One of the YC people did.
oh, Lamont, I don't know if you saw the comment like from Kenny.
Yeah.
You thought you were being stalked by that other guy?
Yeah,
Right,
but yeah, you're always starting drama, Eric, with your glow floss.
I love your
Yeah,
always.
but yeah, Kenny,
It's not my always.
learn the difference between your and you apostrophe RE.
Grammar's important.
That it is.
Yeah.
Dot your I.
If you're gonna be a troll, be a grammar troll.
A grammatically correct troll.
yes. But yeah, so
But yeah, this is like
back on track, and so
and they're thinking of, and two people are thinking of boycotting these people now, not debating them and stuff.
boycotting.
People I mentioned, I don't say names yet.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, like they said that they're like, it's like really mean stuff.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like that it's circumstances like that is exactly what leads people away, like from Christianity.
Mhm.
Man, that's why that there are so many people out there like who think so pessimistically about it. Like, I say good examples are Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, even a bunch of YouTube atheists like Hugo and Jake. A really good example is Aaron Raw. But yeah, Aaron Raw, let's put it this way, he's not afraid to be blunt.
Yeah, that's why I think a lot of these. I said this before. I don't say this here or not, but I think I said this to my sister and stuff. That I think a lot of these people, instead of bringing people towards Christianity, they're pushing them away from it.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and then
Which, devil's advocate, there's a verse in the Bible. Where is it? Frick. I feel like it's in
the Old Testament or New
it's
Testament?
in New Testament. I honestly feel like it's in 2 Corinthians or somewhere, but I may be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the verse talks about how to some the gospel is a very pleasant aroma. It's the aroma of life and freedom and truth. And to others, it is the stench of death. And I think there's merit to that. There's some people out there who just aren't going to hear it. And we should recognize that and be okay with it.
Yes.
But, again, the thing is like, I guess this whole community is a Christian or not, but they're claiming to be Christians, I guess, and they're threatening, like I said, they're threatening the family and the first the parent, and then it's bad enough, but they're threatening the little girl. And
That's not okay.
Yeah, which
No.
the Bible makes it very clear not to do that when it says love thy neighbor.
It doesn't just say love thy neighbor. Love thy enemy.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. Love thy neighbor and to love thy enemy. Makes it very, very clear.
Everybody loves your friends, but it says something very special about somebody who's willing to go out of their way to be loving to somebody who they could consider an enemy.
Yeah, I mean it's bad. I mean it's bad enough when kids bully other kids, because I was bullied in high school myself.
I also was.
But when an adult to bully a preteen even.
Right, and I mean, it's wrong to bully people in general, but but in my opinion, it's worse when a teacher is doing it. It's because it's because of the fact that it's because that when a student gets bullied, one of the first people who they should go to is the teacher.
Yeah.
So interesting fact. My freshman year, I was bullied by my wrestling coach.
Sorry.
That was one of the things that got me to not want to go back to wrestling. So sophomore year, I decided not to come back to wrestling. Oh man, so many people got so upset who hit me over it. And people so they're calling me vulgar names about it. Like they were calling me a pussy all because I didn't want to wrestle again.
Yeah.
But after that experience, that was a pretty good reason not to want to do it. And, and one of the other reasons why that I decided not to, I wanted to rather focus on getting like my driver's license, which I mean, to be fair,
and that's good.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that is a lot more important.
Yeah.
It's because driving is something that you'll do for the rest of your life. Yeah. And oh man, people gave me such crap for not wanting to wrestle anymore. And so,
and it's like, guys, you're making me want to double down the decision now. The way you're acting.
Right, yeah. It's like, it's like in the long run, does it really matter if I wrestle or not? And so,
I mean, unless you wanted to go pro, then
were you like what the school's only hope of getting state or trophy or something like you're the school's only hope, Eric? Why did you stop? You're
mascot.
And so
you're supposed to join the light side, not join the dark side, Eric.
You were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them.
Join the light side. We got cookies. And so my freshman year, when I was on the wrestling team, I got the nickname Wolverine, and the only reason why I had that, it was because of my sideburns. And so then when I decided that I didn't want to wrestle anymore, nobody then called me that anymore.
So sad.
And so, yeah, I mean, even my parents were trying to talk me out of, to do wrestling again. But then when I told them about my coach bullying me, they're like, yeah, I understand why you don't want to do it now. Yeah. And also, honestly, I felt like wrestling was a waste of time. It's because of how you just sit there all day waiting for a wrestling match when you only get like 2. And I get it that there's other kids, who have to wrestle
but
too.
You're the only one that matters.
Because I am the Wolverine. Yes. And it was such a waste of time. And so
some kids like wasting time though.
Yeah.
Oh, and so that wasn't the first time I was bullied during a school sport. My freshman year, oh man, this got blown way out of proportion. My football coach was accusing me of skipping practice when I was telling him over and over again, I did not skip practice.
You just didn't see me.
And so it got so out of hand that he got my parents involved. And my coach thought that I was lying. And my parents thought that I was lying. And I'm like,
can you tell the other hey, ask everyone else here, they saw me.
Right. And so, and I felt bullied by my coach. It was because of the fact that he was accusing me of something that I didn't do. I was telling him over and over again. It got so bad. He was so convinced that I was lying. He was like, okay, well, if you're going to keep lying, I'm going to make the whole entire team run until you confess. So then the whole entire team got mad at me. And so then not only was I getting bullied by the coach, I was getting bullied by my teammates because.
And then why didn't your teammates tell the coach that we saw him? He was with us.
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea why that they didn't say that. So what I think happened, I'm gonna be blunt. I think that he was just not being observant. He was just not paying any attention. And maybe I was just being really quiet that day.
Well, I mean, from what you've said, you were a pretty quiet kid in high school.
Yeah,
Well,
I've been visible too. Like at one time at church camp, we were eating breakfast, and the kid in front of me asked, "Hey, where's Lamont? Somebody we go wake? Is he still asleep? Should we wake him up?" I'm like, "Hi, I'm right in front of you." Like, "Oh, I didn't see you there."
And so,
Can't relate. I've never been a wallflower in my life.
so then I finally proved to him that I didn't skip because I said, "Okay, didn't we do so and so animal push-ups on so and so day?" He said, "Yes." I said, "I told you so that I didn't skip." Then afterwards, he had that look on his face as if he felt like a complete idiot.
Well, he was, so.
But then,
if you're watching.
sophomore year, I went through something similar again because I was bullied like for my speech impediment.
Oh,
and
that's my story.
And so I got tired of that. And then I would see a speech therapist every Wednesday. But because of that, I had to miss practice. And I tried to explain to all my teammates, but because I was being bullied for stuttering, I was afraid that if I were to say that, "Hey, I'm going to a speech therapist," I was afraid that they would bully me more. So I would tell them that I would have
bathroom smoking weed.
No. Yeah, man. I was gonna clean my room until I got high.
We can do that now. It's legal now.
and so what I will tell them is that I have all of these appointments, but this time it wasn't the coach. It was because it was a new coach. But then the new coach eventually got arrested for selling drugs.
Oh, so you could have told them you were in the bathroom smoking weed.
I could.
Okay.
Got from the coach.
And so, and then I constantly was getting harassed by my teammates, like that they were accusing me of skipping practice. So eventually I got fed up with it. I got so fed up with it. I told my coach about it. I'm like, I'm getting really tired of my class. My teammates, constantly berating me. And so
imagine that.
And now, unlike the other coach, this coach actually helped with the situation. Pretty much he told them, "Okay, you all better knock this crap off." And he said that if you don't, I will make you run. But then,
gotta love using exercise as a punishment. Really drive into those kids that they hate it.
and then I got a concussion. And then obviously I couldn't play anymore. But then all my teammates were then accusing me of faking it. And so then that's why since then I do not play. Now, I mean, granted, will I play sports for fun, with friends and family? Sure.
But not competitively.
But competitively, just those two experiences left a bad taste in my mouth.
I don't think anybody blames you for that.
So, yeah. And so, that's an example as to how bullying can really have an effect on your life.
Yeah.
What's interesting, though? So I have bullying tendencies.
Wait. Sorry, I'm telling my story now.
Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt you, but yeah, speech impediment and stuff. I was also bullied for my speech impediment in middle school. People would when I talk to them, they try to stutter on purpose, try to make fun of my voice. And also back then, what I didn't know then, what I do know now, that I guess I don't know if I had anxiety as a kid or not, and depression and stuff. But my emotions were all over the place as a kid. It's more. I'm taking medicine for it now. It's more balanced. But so I used to cry a lot too as a kid. As a kid, over little things. So they called me crybaby and stuff. So I kind of make people. These people are my friends. These people are my friends. Then one day in 10th grade. Went up to a whole new level, when someone started a rumor that I was gay.
I had the exact same thing happen, and some of my bullies in high school, they made up some really disgusting rumors about me, like that somebody spread a rumor that I jacked off in a bag of M&Ms. I mean, that I put it in my mouth. And oh man, all throughout high school, people gave me crap for that.
Yeah.
And oh man,
Yummy.
Well,
I got bullied severely over that.
Well, this happened on. Well, my thing happened first. It happened on Friday. I'm like, whatever. I ignored it. I was like, big deal. Blah blah blah. Whatever. The next Monday, like 20 people were bugging me about it. It spread that fast, and this was in '96. This was like pre big internet, like maybe AOL and stuff was the thing. So this was like, I can't imagine how fast it was spread. It was spread if it was today, but it's just like pre-internet almost, like basic internet. So it's like it spread like that fast, and all through the school year, people were throwing stuff at me, calling me names, sending me roses, like carnations stuff with guys' names on them. It got so bad that I actually had to transfer schools. Not like transfer. I went to a CTC school, a JVS school, in 11th, 12th grade, just to get away from everyone there.
Oh, trust me. I know exactly how you feel, because all of the drama with me getting bullied in high school was so bad. I actually thought about transferring, but I decided not to. It's because of how it would have been too much of a hassle. And even at the rest of the high schools, there were people who had beef with me. So no matter where I went, I was going to have to deal with all that drama.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and that's part of the reason why that there's a serious problem, like with America's education.
Yes.
It's because it's made people not want to learn.
Yeah.
And that was my problem in high school.
Yeah.
You didn't want to learn?
I didn't want to learn.
Yeah.
I wanted it done and over with.
Yeah. Well, and it's because of the people you were surrounded with.
Yeah.
And not the actual like education itself.
Yeah, even to this today, I still even 20 years later, I still have trust issues with new people. I'm like, hey, new person, I'm like, are they gonna betray me? Are they gonna and even one time at work, somebody did a stuttering thing to me, and I really got mad. I broke something at work, I broke like a fry vat, not fry vat, a fry, the thing you put fries in, at work. I slammed it down really hard and broke the edge of it. So that was because that PSTD, I guess, from 20 years ago still affects me.
Yep, and trust me, I know exactly how you feel, because that's what I went through in high school. I was bullied so bad for my stuttering. I was too afraid to even open up my mouth. And so that was why there was this teacher that I had. It was her class was the only place at my school where I actually could talk, and then she passed away, and I was devastated. So trust me, I know how you feel. And so if there comes a point like where somebody ever bullies you for that never again, you let me know. You let me know who that person is. And I'm not afraid to chew them out. And trust me, when I get pissed, I get pissed.
Oh. Okay, I guess now we have a story.
You have seen my things that piss me off videos.
You want to know what pisses him off?
Before we go on that, now we have a story from the other side.
Yeah, this conversation has been really hard for me, because I was a bully. I was the person doing the bullying, and when you're on the other end of that, you don't realize the impact that your words can have on people.
No, you do not.
Really don't. And you don't realize how it's so much more than the little bit of good that it makes you feel about yourself. So many people, most people know at this point that bullies bully because they've been bullied. So I was not necessarily bullied by other kids in my life as a child and a teenager growing up, but there were other members of my circle that I was not treated right by. And so I just hadn't been educated on how to cope with that. And so I took it out on other people, primarily my brother, primarily the kids at the church that I was going to. And I lost friendships over it. I failed to gain friendships. I didn't have friends in high school because I was a toxic person. And that sucks. It hurts. And it made me feel just a little better about myself to put others down. And I hate that that's true about me. But
yeah, well,
what I'm getting at is bullying should not happen. I should not have behaved that way. And what I needed was to just be genuinely loved as a friend at that time.
Yeah.
But it's so hard when you're somebody who's being bullied to let yourself be okay with that. And some people just aren't cut out for it, and that's fine. I feel like now I'm cut out to be somebody who can be a friend to a toxic individual without getting too attached. To a certain point, I have had to cut off friendships with people because they were just not receptive. But it's just such a duality when we come to conversations like this, because there's always a reason behind somebody's behavior, and it's often, if it's a negative behavior, often related to some kind of abuse or trauma.
I had to do that 2 years ago myself. A relationship that I felt was toxic to me. They were friends at first. We were having fun, you know. But then as it probably goes on, I found out I was putting more into it than they were. These were my former guest stars on my show from season 4 to season 6, and we were talking stuff. I mean, I understand people drift apart. That's fine. People do drift apart, but it's like I was always the one inviting them to stuff, but they would never return the favor. They would never.
Mm-hmm.
They would start groups without me, you know, and stuff. So I'm like,
one thing I didn't mention that I want to touch on before we get too far away from the topic, and I apologize that I forgot, but it's really important, I think, to get out there, is I find myself, I still have bad habits that come to the surface now and then. Like, I love you, okay? I can't tell you the number of times I've caught myself and stopped myself from imitating your speech impediment to make fun of you. And I hate that. So if I ever do it, call me out.
I will.
You know?
I will.
But
trust me,
these habits, they don't go
I'm
away
a very,
easy.
very blunt person.
Yeah, you are, and I like it.
I will.
But what I'm saying is these habits don't go away easy. And so you also have to be gracious with this kind of thing and just, lovingly educate and all that kind of stuff. And it's hard. It's really hard.
And especially after what I went through in high school.
Yeah.
And also the thing about bullying, eventually they are going to get karma, is because that they are going to burn so many bridges. It's because of the fact that they'll have such a bad reputation because, nobody wants to be friends with somebody who is going to make them feel bad about themselves. Nobody does.
Oh, I have two things about that. One, did I tell you the kid that started the rumor about me in 10th grade? Well, he actually apologized at my 10-year reunion. He actually apologized to me about it.
Good.
So some employees can grow and mature.
Yeah.
I have a story similar. I regret this. So because I was getting bullied, I was taking it out on this one kid named Michael. I took it out on him when I was in junior high. So I bullied him because he had a bad back, and I would call him the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I deeply, deeply regret it. But then sophomore year, him and I got reconnected. I expressed to him, just how sorry that I am for what I did to you. He accepted my apology, and then we became friends. we don't talk as much as we used to anymore. It's because of, life,
Yeah.
just life got in the way, just went our
That'll happen.
separate ways. But at least that him and I are on good terms. One other story about one of my bullies from high school. Her name was Katie.
Boy.
She bullied me because I had some alcohol problems in high school by the toxic people I was hanging out with. She would bully me for that. And she bullied me for that stupid rumor, like when somebody said that I jacked off in a bag of M&Ms.
Yummy.
Then I ate it. I mean, people are so gullible.
They really are.
Mhm.
And so she also used to bully this girl named Marissa for being fat. So that was in 2010. 9 years later, fast forward, I am at a swimming pool with my friend Eric. Just by coincidence, we have the same first name.
Eric and Eric.
And we also were there with some of my friends. Guess who I saw at the swimming pool? Katie. And she got fat. Karma. And
Okay, let's pause there. I don't think it's just karma.
what do you think it is?
Eating disorders, my guy. You don't bully for no reason. And when you learn that bullying isn't a healthy coping mechanism, you try to find other ones. And usually people go to food.
Yeah.
Speaking of karma and stuff, it's also on Facebook. Former bully, she apologized on Facebook to everyone to bully because apparently now her kid's getting bullied, and she says, "Seeing it through my kid's eyes makes me see what a bitch I was in school."
Yep. And when I saw that Katie got fat, I'm like, okay, now you can know how that Marissa felt, like when you made her feel bad, or what you have to feel now. Now, granted, as a Christian, I wanted to feel as sorry for her as I could, but part of me felt like she had that coming. So
Yeah, it's a human thing. Like you want to feel like help them out, but other parts, the other part of you, like the angel devil thing on your shoulder, like the cartoons that are like stupid coming to you. The other part's like oh, I shouldn't. I shouldn't make fun of her. I'm not going to, but you're thinking like I so want to rub her face or their face, whatever his or her face, but you don't. Yeah. You hold yourself back.
Yep.
And so sometimes I feel like that people have to learn things the really, really hard way. I feel like that's gonna.
I do.
I had to learn some things the hard way too.
Yeah. And
so.
Nice.
Fun times.
I think I was a bully. I think it might have been bullying, or maybe it was a prank. I don't know what the difference. Sometimes I don't know the difference between a prank and a bully, because I wish I'll say he's unpopular. We're friends now. We do stuff. He's been on his show a few times, but in 8th grade, I sent out a birthday wish for him on the thing, and I wish him happy birthday from people that didn't like him that much, and so they got mad at him for the birthday wish. Came out. I did a little prank, I guess. They got mad at him for it.
Good for him, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm not certain if I want to go to my high school reunion.
No one's gonna judge you if you don't.
Yeah, it's just there is a possibility that they might have changed, but it's just what if they didn't?
Well, you changed though.
I did, yes. I changed a lot since then, but I don't know if they have though. And it's just if they haven't, then it's just going to be opening up that Band-Aid.
Well, then you just don't go to your next 20 year. I say you go to one of them just to test the waters, maybe. And if none of them are like in 10 years, they've matured, and they might not mature. They might mature again later, but they might not. So
yeah, maybe during the 20-year one, they might have a little bit more. But
yeah, I
mean, it's kind of hard to know for certain. But
sometimes people. They can't say always, but sometimes when people have kids themselves, they grow up a bit. Other times they're I don't say bitches all the time, but sometimes they are.
Which, I mean, if you're going to be a parent, that is seriously when you do have to grow up.
Hopefully you've grown up before then, but you know.
Right. Right. But especially if you're going to be a parent.
Which brings me back to the first thing we're talking about, like the adults of the community, that community. But that's the thing. Adults teach kids how to bully sometimes too, and how to be president and stuff.
Adults bully kids sometimes. It's ridiculous.
They pass it down to them. Like my mom growing up in the 40s. I guess she had black friends, you know, when she was a kid. But you know, adults are like, you can't be friends with black people.
But
not right.
Stupid.
But like adults pass it on to their kids sometimes. That's how like the drug commercial. I'll learn from you, Dad. I'll learn by watching you.
Yep.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Especially with kids, because kids don't know not to emulate what their parents do. They know there's something that's kind of programmed in there. They know that they came from this person, therefore this person should care and is good to emulate. They're not going to know. They have no idea that what they're doing is damaging or wrong. Not a clue.
And then when the kid grows up a little bit, and then when they reflect on their lives, they will then go, I can't believe that I did this and that. Which
or they won't, and they'll just pass it on to their kids.
They'll double down. Like
yeah, I mean it could go either way, but it might just depend on how they're raised, or also could depend on how their lives turned out.
Yeah, I guess so. Like I said, with that nature versus nurture thing, the community you grew up in, the family you grew up in, you know, it can affect your life. Like I grew up. I grew up going to church and stuff. I also grew up in a liberal democratic household, and sometimes those two views were competitive against each other.
Yeah, and when you're a kid, you don't know how to handle that.
Nope. And there have been times where I felt bullied, like by young Earth creationists. Man, it's exactly that is why that people are leaving Christianity. A lot of people will say that they're leaving Christianity because of how they feel like their beliefs like are incompatible, like with what we know about science. So the thing that I've noticed, oh, Kenny, I was bullied for my flat Earth beliefs. I'm sorry, man.
Bullied?
We haven't been bullying you, Kenny. We just thought that you were a Poe. It was because that he says some pretty stupid stuff. I mean, just to be honest with you, but if you're bullied for it, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
There's a way to go about things. Bullying is not the answer. If you're trying to have a respectful, mutually beneficial conversation about something, that's different.
Right, yeah.
I don't think that all conversations have to be boring and serious, and that you can bring fun into them.
Right, yeah.
That's something that says a person who's got bad habits with bullying people has been difficult to balance because it was fun to bully people. So I struggle sometimes with finding where the threshold is on what's funny and what is too far. So what I'm saying is most people, I think especially as adults, if they haven't been cruel or mean in the past and they say something that feels like bullying, they probably didn't mean it. Call them out on it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we say things that, like that we may not mean it in a mean way until we think about it more as to what we said. I mean, that happens. I mean, we're not,
I've done it to you.
No one's perfect. Yeah.
You called me out on it. I'm like, oh, frick, sorry.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But the bully stuff it makes me mad. Like with the community and with the community and with this people on Twitter or Facebook harassing people like Erica, and they're calling themselves, they're claiming to be Christians, Christian bullies. That really, it makes me angrier, I guess, sometimes, because I grew up thinking
it directly conflicts with the person's supposed views. Yeah.
Right, and so I have no problem. I'm as somebody who wants to be a young Earth creationist. Like, my mom's parents, they are YECs, but I love them like with all my heart. And so, I have no issue if you want to be a young Earth creationist. Do I disagree? Yes. But the issue that I have is if you're going to be belligerent about it, yeah, and you're going to be, and the fact that if you're going to be berating and you're going to belittle somebody over it by saying, oh, you have to interpret my way because there is no other option. But when they say that, that's actually the false dichotomy fallacy. Like how do you say that? Oh, there's only this option when there are plenty of other options out there. Like, even though you could interpret it at the YEC, interpretation, nowhere in the Bible does it say that you have to. Nowhere. I mean, there are a plethora of interpretations of Genesis, like day, age, gap theory. There's even my interpretation of like the cosmic temple inauguration.
What?
So
what?
So I have told you about John Walton before.
Okay.
So his interpretation, it's interesting. So I go with what he said. It's because of how he's a renowned biblical scholar.
Okay.
He has studied the context of Genesis, and according to him, according to these other creation myths, such as Luma Elish from that time,
okay,
they were more so focused about functional origins rather than material origins.
Okay.
Think of it kind of like with a restaurant. The restaurant's there. What makes it function though is the people who work there.
Okay.
So there's other places in the Bible where it has there's a temple inauguration with the number 7.
Okay.
And so
is it like a numerology thing?
Yeah. I forget where, but yeah. And so so the word create doesn't always mean material creation within the Bible. There actually is a verse that says, create in me a new heart.
Yeah.
And and obviously
but that's in poetry, so is it the same word?
Yeah. So then what John Walton argues is that in the creation account, it's more so about God creating a temple for functional,
organizing it.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of how it's implied in the scripture anyway, because it talks about the earth being formless and void in verse 1.
Yeah. And he also argues that the very first verse in the beginning, it's more so talk about the beginning. It's more so talk about the beginning of God, setting function to the temple, or even if the person job.
Temple being just a metaphorical word for all that exists.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when I went on my journey with dinosaurs and the Bible, I researched every interpretation of the creation account.
Okay.
And I know I had to come to that, which one should I go to, by my own choice.
Yeah.
I decided that his made the most sense to me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've never heard a name for that line of thinking, but it kind of have been what I thought was the most accurate too. It's just things were there, and he made them make sense.
Yeah, and so I thought that his was. Now, I am not trying to force it on to others. I'm just trying to say as to what my experience was, and I'm just trying to say as to why that I came to his view of Genesis. Because he focuses on like, on like the context, and on top of that, John Walton also like tries to focus on, okay, how did the people like who originally received the text view it? And John Walton also like will focus on the culture itself.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that if you're going to understand the Bible, that's the most important thing, because we have to remember, yes, the Bible was written for us, but it was not written to us.
Oh, okay. Sorry. No, Kenny.
That makes sense.
No, Kenny. No. Says you're all hypocrites. You don't know what bullying is. No.
I'm sorry. Are you not paying attention?
Did you not hear all of our stories about how
we literally know both sides of the story?
Did you not hear about all the torture that Lamont and I went through?
Ridiculous.
And after when you said that you were bullied for your flat Earth views?
Like, I'm sorry that we don't believe that the Earth is flat.
Yeah, Kenny, just let it go. We're not going to believe the Earth is flat. And so anyways, and so by my own decision, you have to understand that I spent a lot of time researching, the creation account for like 2 years. That's a lot of time. I personally didn't think that the gap theory really had like a lot of biblical evidence for it, because, the gap theory goes like that. There's a gap in between.
Oh yeah,
I
mentioned that. I think I mentioned that in my stream of Dapper, the gap theory. That picture used to think like between the Adam and Eve and the dinosaurs, and Satan was the meteor that killed the dinosaurs, something like that.
Yeah, and I mean that was a view that not until when you did your video with him, I never ever heard about that. So standing for truth, but yeah, if you don't know who Standing for Truth is, he has a reasonable amount of subscribers. I won't say like millions and millions of subscribers. He's a young Earth creationist YouTuber. He actually has joined some of my live streams before, and he seems like a nice guy.
All right, good for him.
But and if it wasn't for Erica being a girl who atheists never encounter in their lives, she wouldn't have any either.
What? I'm stupid. I don't understand.
Okay, and if it wasn't for Erica being a girl who atheists.
Any what?
Any friends?
I guess not. Talking about this thing of boycotting these people because their actions.
I've had nothing but good things said about my moderating. Okay, so the thing about Standing for Truth, okay, so Standing for Truth was one of the moderators for my debate with Ken Hovind. The thing that got on my nerves about that, so I was trying to get into like some pieces of like the geological evidence for why humans and dinosaurs didn't live by sides. But yeah, Standing for Truth like would always come in and he would say, "Oh, sorry, Eric, we have to get into a different direction." And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get into some of the evidence. You could tell that by like my facial expressions, I was getting pretty irritated about that. And oh man, that got on my nerves.
Yeah, right here he couldn't be a Christian, but he says calling people a pussy and a bitch and a weirdo.
Yikes!
I think you're probably wow. That's not Christian.
Sorry, man.
Okay, so Eric can't be a team leader. She must.
Ooh, gross. That's.
But yeah, and
totally not sexist at all.
And the fact that Standing for Truth like is calling people like Team Dodgeball, doing that name, that's yeah. I mean, do you really think that Jesus would appreciate that.
No.
He would not.
Yeah. So
Keeps going.
Yikes. This is why people are leaving Christianity.
Yeah.
And I have watched a lot of deconversion stories, like from people who were Christians and who are now atheists. It was because I wanted to understand why that they left. Even though I don't have to agree with it, but to at least try to understand why. What most of them will say, they were shunned for either for science or for the other can of worms, the LGBT community. So yeah, it's like you don't have to agree with it, but at least respect them. But yeah, well, the LGBT community, that's yikes. You haven't been made. Well, Kenny, you have to understand that some of the things you've said has been absurd. Like how one time that you came on my channel saying that Dragon Ball Z disproves gravity. And I mean, that's why that we thought that you were a Poe. Because
Okay, so there's a strong difference between bullying and persecution, although I think that one could say that they're very similar. Persecution does happen, even to this day. I could find some articles if you wanted to see what exactly I'm talking about, but there's countries out there where if you're a Christian, you are hunted down and killed.
yes,
There have been people who have lost entire families to persecution. That's a strong difference between persecution and bullying. Bullying is much more of a psychological thing.
yes, it is.
Not to say that persecution isn't also.
but
Because
there's physical I think there's physical, there's mental, there's sexual bullying, there's all
Yes.
different levels too.
Yes.
And with the sexual kind, I feel like that's. So I told you about it, but I don't know, Lamont, if you heard about what happened back when Ravi Zacharias was alive still. I told you, but I don't know if I told. But I don't know if Lamont knows.
I think no, I don't remember.
Ravi Zacharias, he was a renowned Christian apologist. He lived a double life. You know, he would use the funding from his ministry, like to emotionally manipulate women into doing sexual things with him.
Woohoo!
Like, you know, like he'll say, "Oh, you're only doing God's work only if you give me head," or something like that. Yikes.
Yikes.
And that's why that since his ministry did an investigation and found evidence that he actually did do it, is why that pretty much almost every Christian book publishing organization is not going to be publishing his books anymore. And I think that that's a very, very good call. But yeah, Ravi Zacharias, he wasn't ever my favorite apologist. But now it was because of that is why that I guess it didn't really hit me too hard. I mean, yes, it did. But yeah, you know, it would be a lot worse for people, say, like if they grew up with him, you know, watching his sermons and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and there have been other, you know, circumstances like with sexual bullying. But yeah, I feel like that. But I mean, of course, people often they think it's just women to go through that.
Oh no, it's everybody. It's everybody.
But
Oh
there are
yeah,
cases
I
where-
saw that reminds me. I was you see this article, news or something. They did 2 experiments where a guy was bullying this girl, and everyone like stood up for her, like hey, tried to help him out. But it happened when the girl was bullying the guy. Most of the people ignored it, like whatever.
and I actually just
Actually, when men are treated that way, it usually flies under the radar because people just assume that because they're men, they are complicit or that
They can handle it.
They can handle it, or that because they didn't like fight back, that they secretly wanted it, which is another really common one. Can of worms. Okay, what do you say?
Oh, Kenny. I swear, trying to reason with him is like playing chess with a pigeon.
Okay,
No matter
calling
how
people snowflakes is bullying. That's not a friendly term.
My guy, come on. What are you doing?
But yeah, trying to reason with Kenny is like playing chess with a pigeon. No matter how good you are at playing chess, knock the pieces over, crap on the board, and start around like he won. I will give credit where credit's due. Kenny used to believe that dinosaurs were not real, and then I saw that he posted a video where he's arguing for the Alhambra figures and the Ken Boring Stegosaurus carvings. So at least he changed his mind about that.
Yeah, I don't care about King's Five. It's his anti-vax views I had the most.
Ooh, careful, you're gonna get him going on that one.
Yeah, like when he said NASA uses vaccines to brainwash people into believing,
which he like genuinely believes because he keeps bringing it up.
I mean, maybe he's not just a poet if he's constantly bringing.
Yeah, but it's people that spread that stuff that I really hate the most.
He got bullied over it.
Because people are dying.
And what's sad, some people are more concerned with their children having autism than to be vaccinated. It's like some of the greatest minds who ever lived had autism.
Autism is not a death sentence. I don't understand.
Right.
And
it's not at all. Like say Charles Darwin had autism, and the fact that Charles Darwin revolutionized biology.
Yeah.
And even Sir Isaac Newton had it. Albert Einstein had it. I know that Hugh Ross, who runs Reasons to Believe, has it.
Yeah.
And that surprised me because all the views I saw of him, I never would have thought that he had it. But
yeah, it comes between autism and polio. I mean, off the subject, but it comes up between autism and polio. Autism, please. I don't want to sleep in a. I have a friend whose mom has polio. She passed iron lung on that, but yeah, I did not want to be having those giant iron lung stuff to be able to breathe.
No, thank you. Well, I think that it's just it comes down to a lack of education.
yes,
People are correlating the quote unquote rising autism rates and the quote unquote advancements in science and saying that they are in fact related.
Well, it was only because before we couldn't diagnose these things either. 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, or even 10 years ago.
They don't realize that it's not that autism itself is more common, and maybe it is. If it is, who cares?
Yeah.
It's that we have the tools to learn about it and to know about it, to find it. And now that we do, that means that we're all the more equipped to help people who have it cope in their lives and actually be more productive and members of society, doing things that are fantastic and wonderful. And it's beneficial to people in general. So it's just sad. It's sad to see.
and it's better for your kid to be autistic than to have them dead. And the fact that people are concerned about that, it's like, maybe there's something wrong with you then. And I mean, some of them, it'll be harder, to communicate to them. But depending on how severe it is, you actually can teach them things.
Well, most people who are on the spectrum, like, you wouldn't even know until you've known them for a while.
Right,
You
and
know?
right, and it even goes back to what I said, like about Hugh Ross. I never would have thought in a million years that he had it.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people.
It's just
like I said, it's a spectrum. Some people can hide. Some people can hide it because they don't look at it on the outside. Some people are like the whole thing. Some people don't even know it by the way they act. Sometimes it's more internal than external too.
Right, yeah. Right, yeah. Like, well, I mean, it's a whole spectrum. Some of them are really sensitive to sound. Like, say, if it's like the 4th of July, but while other people who have autism, excuse me, won't be as sensitive to it.
Heck, I'm basically neurotypical, and I still get overwhelmed by too much sound in the sight. You know, so
Right,
it's,
yeah.
like, this is not abnormal.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Okay, Kenny, I'm sorry. Okay, well, I'll give credit where credit's due at. Lisa, you apologized. Because you're starting to be rude.
Yes.
You can have your flat earth beliefs.
Just don't push them on people, man.
And one sign of autism, like, is they get hardcore obsessed about something. Kenny's hardcore obsessed with the flat earth.
Are you? Careful.
I'm
Careful.
not saying it's proof, but it's possible maybe he might have
Careful.
autism.
Yeah, like I said, I don't really care about flat Earth beliefs or anything like that. It's fine. It doesn't affect the community as a whole. It's just like I said. The only thing I got mad about him about was his anti-vax beliefs.
Yeah, that's understandable. It's because that actually threatens people's lives. So I have a Facebook friend. I'm not gonna say her name, like, who's anti-vax. She was trying to spread misinformation about the COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
Her source was Forbes magazine.
Forbes? It's Forbes.
Or Forbes, whatever. Sorry. Forbes magazine.
Orbeez, you know Orbeez?
Sorry. But yeah, Forbes magazine. I'm like, that is not a scientific peer-reviewed source. That is a journalist source.
Yeah. But yeah.
And so then she was trying to argue that, oh, if you get the vaccine, you will die. She got the vaccine.
I'm
She's
alive.
alive.
Wait, am I?
Bah, bah, bah. And so I got my first shot. I'm still alive.
I got my first shot. Got my first shot yesterday.
Oh, how sore are you?
A little sore.
Mm,
Is your first shot or what?
My first shot.
nice.
Yeah, I got my age group. My age group finally got in yesterday or a few days ago, so I finally got able to get. I wasn't sick enough to get before, and I wasn't sick enough to get it before that, and I wasn't old enough either. I mean, I wasn't young enough or old enough, however you want to say. But yeah, finally the 40-year-olds can take it, so I got it.
So, talking of vaccines and people who are against them,
Your mom is one.
my mom is anti-vax. Fun fact. And I'm not, obviously.
Sensei, you work in the hospital.
Yeah, I work in a hospital. I don't administer vaccines, but I do prepare them sometimes for people. So, I mean, like, I work in pharmacy, so I've done my fair share of research because Mom did try to, like, indoctrinate me with all of her, like, her own research that she had done. I know she's not watching this, but, like, love you.
The other thing about that is one of the things they say about actually say about we don't have these diseases anymore, so we shouldn't have vaccines for them.
Yes.
Because we've been vaccinated against them. That's why we don't have any more. We have polio or measles or stuff anymore, or chickenpox.
But one thing I want to say to her credit, which is something that is a characteristic she has that few other anti-vaxxers have with whom I've interacted. She's respectful. She doesn't really push it. She tried to when I was younger than 18, and as soon as I did, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go get all my shots now, she was like, okay, I can't stop you.
One thing that I've heard from anti-vaxxers is, oh, well, why can't you just naturalistically fight it off? And I'm like,
I guess that's true, but we did that in the Black Plague era, and half the people died.
not lifestyle changes, diet changes, even like supplements and stuff like that. That should be the first try.
Yeah.
But it's not always going to be successful.
Yeah, and anybody who knows anything about like medicine knows that that's always the first recommendation that a doctor and a prescriber will give. If that doesn't work, or if the patient isn't going to be compliant in applying those changes, then drugs and other types of things, surgeries, etc., do have to be employed. But we all know, if anybody who's had any interaction with any kind of pharmaceutical or surgery thing, no, that's not easy.
But you know what? Beyond the vaccines and stuff and the lifestyle changes, people want to fight it off, normally. You know what that's called? Natural selection.
Yes.
Yes.
The issue is that as human beings, we're a little bit elevated when it comes to intelligence and stuff, and I think that largely with some of the advancements and some of the ethics and moral systems that are being followed, there's some ways that natural selection is being circumvented to not just focus on physical stuff, but now it's focusing more on the more abstract business, which I think is super cool and interesting. But
and so when I would take my dog to the dog park, there are some people saying that, oh, the coronavirus was invented, just for the election. And what I try to tell them, okay, viruses mutate because of natural selection. They don't give a crap about the election. A virus has
the viruses think for themselves, Eric.
Yes.
They want to hijack the election.
The viruses have a right to vote too. And so, anyways, a virus has no idea.
Dude, imagine a zombie movie where all of the zombies have the right to vote.
That'd be funny. And so what was funny? The election's over now. We're still dealing with COVID, and I'm like, you see. But this is what I told you.
That's because
you obviously were not in biology class.
Because President Biden knows that we caught on, so they have to continue the pandemic.
I know it's not the main topic too, but it's some people say that the virus was made to attack Republicans and Trump voters. It's because you're not you're not following the rules, wearing masks or social distancing.
Expose themselves to contagion, and the base level of intelligence of that type of person.
But
Trump voters' intelligence. That is to say.
What also didn't help is the fact that people have spread misinformation, and particularly one political figure saying it's just the flu. And that's why there have been so many cases. And that's why there have been well over 1 million cases of COVID, when it easily could have been at least a little bit lower if people would know how to fact check.
Yeah.
I think I was worldwide, but I think it was mainly in America this was happening.
No, I have plenty of international friends that would disagree with you. But let's not try to blame it all on one person.
Which I'm not. What I'm saying is that didn't help.
No, but people have the right to choose, and there's some people that are just darn stubborn and just don't.
People's choose. That's fine. I love people choose. People have the right to choose, and as I find that it's just when they again force their choices on other people, affecting them.
Yeah.
Back to the bullying thing, I guess.
But we also have to remember with our choices, yes, it is our choice, but I have to think, okay,
how can I be respectful to this other individual that I'm interacting with?
Well, and we also have to think about, okay, is this choice I'm going to make, is it going to be beneficial? Mm-hmm. Are there pros and cons to it? Mm-hmm. Should I do it?
Is it good? Is it
just
pure?
because?
Is it honest? Is it without
like if I threaten to burn someone's house down and go to it,
whenever we make choices, we have to think, okay, will this choice I make, will my future self thank me for it or not? If not, you probably shouldn't make that choice.
Is it worthy of does it have good report? Is it praiseworthy? Is it just?
Yeah.
What do you think I'm doing here? Philippians 4:8, my guy.
Yes, definitely. So,
Oh.
do we have anything else
No,
to add?
I think we pretty much wrapped up. We wrapped up the bullying, the stuff, the choices we make, the
Virus, vaccines.
brought up the school versus not school versus state versus religious thing separation. There's a reason it's there. Not because the government's bullying Christians. It's so everyone has a fair. So everyone has a fair shake. One religion is
Right.
like I said this about a video a long time ago. It's like when people bully minorities and you say it's fine because it's a Christian country. But what if this wasn't a Christian country, And it says, and you were the minority. How would you feel then if you were the majority anymore? And
Yikes.
you could follow their rules.
Yikes.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So I think that Kenny took what you said. He's trying to start a debate.
Oh, shoot. Sorry.
Didn't
mean it. I didn't mean it like that.
Blaming it all on you.
Blame me. I'm the scapegoat.
Anyways,
Vaccines alter our brain chemistry, and that's why they brainwash us in the globe Earth religion. Okay, the globe Earth is not a religion. We have explained that to you 1 billion times.
I just ignore this point. But anyways, you want to anything coming up on your channel you want to advertise?
So for me, yes. For my primary channel, I'm gonna bring back things that piss me off. I'm gonna do dinosaur.
Grand comeback.
Yes. It'll be the first episode of this year. It's gonna be Dinosaur Deniers Part 3. It's gonna be more movie-like.
Cinematic masterpiece.
If I'm off, you need me to be a guest star on your channel. I'll be happy to take part of it.
Oh yeah, and so maybe with Dinosaur Deniers Part 3 being more of a movie-like, maybe I could squeeze in a cameo from you.
Nice.
And so with my secondary channel, Eric the Tyrannoceratops, I'm looking at debunking like some flat Earth stuff. Kenny.
Oh boy. You should have him on as a guest.
I should.
Yes.
That would.
Everyone talking about flat Earth. I think about going into not flat Earth, but geocentric versus heliocentric Earths.
Is that a subject of debate anymore?
Well, if you're a flat Earther, I don't think you believe in a if you're a flat Earther, I don't think you believe in a heliocentric. Do you? You have to be.
I geocentric. Each individual flat Earth.
Does that work even if it's geocentric?
So about that was one of the things.
Well, I think it would have to work if it was geocentric only, because you've got like the turtle and it's flying through space upwards.
So about that was actually one of the things that actually changed my mind about why EC.
Oh, the turtle?
No. And so for my secondary channel, I also plan on doing a video about how faith and science actually are compatible.
Yes.
And so yeah, I plan on doing that. I plan on refuting some more YEC stuff. Like there is this one argument from YECs about how it's this Chinese carving of a supposed sauropod, but if you look at its tail, it has these big spikes coming out of its tail. There's no evidence in the fossil record of sauropods ever having a tail.
So it's probably just a big bird.
Or it's just a mythical creature.
What?
You mean that Sesame Street back then, prehistoric days? Big bird?
There's no such thing as mythical creatures. When will we find the fossils of the manticores?
But yeah, and
I have a manticore fossil, by the way. It's pretty rad.
Yeah, but you're on next time you're on.
Oh yeah, definitely. So
right. Well, for me, I'm still trying to edit some game footage, from Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. But this Monday, I'm having RJ and Jackson Weed on to talk about the evolution of plants, because everyone loves the animals, but no one gives love to our oxygen creating cousins.
Buddies. Give the ferns some love.
Hey, so I just thought of an idea. for Dinosaur Deniers Part 3.
You can be a plant.
That's not what I was going at. What I was gonna say is that there should be a cameo like from you, Tony Reed, Dapper Dinosaur,
Yes.
and Jackson Weeds, and I'll try to get Gutstick Gibbon. I think I know what cameos that should be. I don't want to say here live, otherwise I will
Spoilers.
give away spoilers.
No spoilers.
Surprise! Surprises.
So
It's gonna be tight.
So yeah, I thought of a really good idea as to what the cameo or the cameos.
Can't wait for the email or whatever, or the Facebook.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, well we probably should wrap things up now.
Anyways, catch you all next time on our channels or his channel or even her channel if he ever makes videos.
If I ever do.
Yeah.
Anyways, as always, never stop learning and enjoy the randomness. We'll see you all next time. I'll just try to add these videos together. Bye.
Peace.
Bye bye.